Chart?
Yeah, I mean, Ted has not asked us to give a TED Talk, but we want to be ready when that call comes. So
and we can think of no other audience that can compare in intelligence in the world except for PAX.
Right.
That's how you pander.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, we'd like to take a few minutes now to talk to you about satire and the creative process.
It's something that, as comedians and satirists, we get asked about a lot.
Oh, shit. We could use some video up there at this point.
The topic of our TED conference talk is failure. This demonstrates how you handle it. Something we get asked about a lot. So as comedians and satirists, it's tied in quite directly with the concept of inappropriateness.
Now, before we get talking about this subject, we would like to lead off with a concrete example of easily the saddest and least funny thing on the internet, if not in the entire world. Let's just soak it in, just wallow in it for a while. Oh, God. Thousands of animals suffer, especially this guy.
Oh, the kids in Hillary has one.
You know what? Thousands were rescued last year, ladies and gentlemen. Thousands of animals were rescued. But not this little dog.
We see you squirming in your seats. We see the anguish.
Okay, wait, I have to stop it. Of course, the ASPCA commercial with Sarah motherfucking McLachlan making us all want to open our veins onto a bunch of suffering abandoned pets. Now, the reason this is relevant, a number of months ago, Storm made a tweet about this very commercial, talking about how sad and depressing and manipulative it was.
You gotta run for the remote when you hear that song anymore.
Like quicker than if your mom walks in on you watching porn. And that led to a discussion between us of ways that we could possibly maybe improve slightly on the situation, which in turn led to the creation of the Twitter hashtag songs to make ASPCA commercials less depressing.
As you can imagine, the internet embraced it wholeheartedly.
Oh, God.
And offered a number of quite excellent and constructive suggestions.
Here's a couple of examples of the wonderful shit you twisted people came up with.
You got the touch! You got the power!
It's amazing.
I know, right? I feel better already. It's better. Here's another.
You get the idea.
Okay. Now these examples, of course, beg the question of what is crossing the line? But what exactly is the line? Well, let's discuss it.
We can handle this scientifically, as we're about to show. All humor exists on two axes. All jokes exist on two axes. Level of humor and level of tastelessness. It's science, people. Science. Now, if your joke's level of humor is greater than its level of tastelessness, you get a laugh. If it does not, you get or worse.
So as comedians, it is our job to find, monitor, and constantly attempt to not cross that line. We like to refer to this as the line of "aww." But this is not an easy process.
For one basic reason. Because tastelessness is not a fixed point. It exists across a continuum, which we demonstrate thusly.
So if we start all the way over at the left, on the far side of safety, you have basic topics such as airline food. There's a reason this is a hacky comedian's joke. It's because no one is going to dispute with you that airline food sucks. You're not taking any risk whatsoever.
It's also inanimate. The airline food is not going to be offended. You get into people, it gets a little trickier. However, you have a topic like lawyers. No one is really going to take issue with you, probably not even lawyers.
As your subjects get to more specific people, let's say, you can run into higher levels of danger. Religion, inherently funny to a great many people, inherently totally not funny to a great many others.
Even if you're not dealing with specific people, it can be very tricky in territory. You really want to know what you're doing before you go there.
There we go.
And the continuum just continues onward from there. So, let's apply some of these lessons and mathematical principles we've been talking about to a few concrete examples. Example number 1.
Hey, Mom, said the way you move, make you sweat, make you move. Okay.
Oh, God.
What we have here is a basic humor concept of contrast. Take one thing, sad dogs. Take a rock and roll song, funny. Now, it also has a dimension that the song is called Black Dog. However, if you did not know that, it wouldn't add to the tastelessness. So it falls pretty low on the tastelessness scale.
So this gray area is a distribution of responses from when we polled the population. We analyze the data for a while and then just arbitrarily decide where we think it belongs within it.
Moving on.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
Okay. It's basically still the same contrast joke. However, a little bouncier, a little bubblier. And it also introduces the concept of letting the dogs out when the animals are clearly still in cages.
So it exists slightly higher in the humor scale and slightly farther over in tastelessness, thusly. Now, again, not every example is cut and dried and easy to suss out.
I'm impressed.
Thank you, that was my white guy dance around move. It's the only move I know.
Once again, it's a simple contrast joke, but amped up with 80s music, which is, of course, inherently funny.
Given a normal population, this song might fall somewhere roughly around there. However, you must know your audience, because then a joke can suffer from what we call guilt by association. As anyone out there who's familiar with the Jurassic Park episode of Futurama knows, I think a few of them are, that particular song carries a much less funny, much more tear-inducing subtext.
So for civilians, it's clearly on the proper side of the line. For a certain nerd subset, it belongs.
Okay, let us raise the level of difficulty yet higher. Posted without comment.
So now we've sort of walked you up through the scales, and we want to show you from our expert research and science what the furthest point is, as far out as you can go, even further to the right of this graph.
Right, because the question is there a point at which the level of tastelessness of a joke cannot be overcome by its inherent humor and funniness? After careful research, we have found, actually it doesn't even fit on the screen, it's probably somewhere up here. Ladies and gentlemen, the farthest data point in our study.
Oh my God.
take some of what you've learned here today. Man, I shouldn't have been sprinting like that. Jesus. We hope you take some of these lessons home with you and apply them in your daily life. Because as you can see, comedy is not an easy thing. We are professionals.
So just in the name of showing you what happens when it goes off the rails, we would like to demonstrate for you what we call shitting all over the line.
Oh, God. Oh my God!
Thank you.
Conference.